Here are 7 things I found in the trailer for episode 2 that will blow your mind. My first theory is that Kinger isn't really crazy. If we look at the scene where Kinger uses the shotgun, I noticed something. At first, if Kinger was crazy, he would go on a rampage and shoot everything he saw. But if you look closely, you'll see that he uses the weapon quite skillfully and strategically, smashing the person in front of him with it, not just blasting him into oblivion. There is something else to this theory. Perhaps Kinger is fickle with the loss of the queen rather than going abstract. There's a lot more to Kinger than meets the eye, and I can't wait to learn his true story in the next episodes that come out. My next theory is that this trailer isn't just teasing an episode or even 2. This teaser shows context for 3 different episodes. Let me explain why. One of the first things shown in the trailer is Candy Canyon Kingdom. Everyone is assuming that this entire episode will take place in the Candy Canyon Kingdom, and I believe that is true. But people also believe that all the content from the trailers is Candy Canyon Kingdom in episode 2. But after some research, I don't really think it is. If we look closely, we are shown 3 different types of areas, which I think will be divided into 3 episodes. First up is Candy Canyon Kingdom. We can see everything from here, as well as the new characters. I think the Spudsy location will also be in Candy Canyon. Ballman, Fudge the Monster, and Crocodile Man will of course be there, as well as the Candy Queen. But I think that will be for episode 2. I think episode 3 will take place in the Haunted Mansion. As you probably know, we're shown a lot of ghostly characters, as well as a lot of darker, dimly lit areas that would fit in perfectly with a haunted mansion. I think it's also safe to say that Kinger with a shotgun could have made an appearance in this episode as well. And finally, I think episode 4 of this show will show this unrecreated Colosseum that Caine shows us for a brief moment. I think it works both in terms of setting and production, because of course they won't be working much on episode 4 yet, because this episode. But I also don't think Candy Canyon Kingdom or the Haunted Mansion I theorized would have room for a Colosseum. But maybe I'm wrong. For my next theory, I'd like to talk about what I think will happen in episode 3, specifically the Haunted Mansion. Of the 8 characters we've discovered, 2 of them look like ghosts, and a few more seem to fit into that crowd, including the reel-to-reel and Kinger with a shotgun. We knew even before the trailer came out that we'd see Kinger with a shotgun in some context, but I can't deny that Haunted Mansion was pretty low on my list, so let's get into it. I think what's going to happen is that Caine will announce some sort of Haunted Mansion trip, or the digital circus will become haunted and everyone is afraid. Their task is explained by the reel-to-reel, which plays a vintage video showing them what to do. But after watching the video, they realize that Kinger is missing for some reason, so their new mission is to find Kinger. But while they eagerly search for Kinger, he's doing great on the other side with his rifle. The characters think they've just found a ghost, when in fact Kinger is the only one scaring them in the comedic scene. Then they will all finally complete their task together before finally escaping this haunted mansion they are all trapped in. Gooseworks also confirmed that each character will have their own episode centered around them. And we know that the first episode was centered around Pomni. If episode 2 is going to be in Candy Canyon, then I think episode 2 will be centered around Jax. Episode 3 will obviously center around Kinger, and then it's unclear who episode 4 will center around. My next theory is when the rest of the episodes will actually come out. We already know that the second episode of the amazing digital circus will be released in May. So when are the next ones coming out? Well, I believe this trailer contains several different episodes, as I mentioned earlier in the video, so it's safe to assume they're working on several at the same time. I guess this means that when episode 2 comes out, it will open the floodgates for other episodes to drop. 2 on the No Cement Glitch release date said they will be releasing episodes this year and next year. So, from 2024 to 2025. So, I think episode 3 will be out soon after the summer, and episode 4 will be out in the winter, and the rest of the episodes will be out during 2025, which seems like a while, but when it's over, it will be worth the wait. The next thing I wanted to talk about is Pomni's room, and why we keep seeing it so often. In case you haven't noticed, the Pomni room has been a hub for teasers and promo content for a while now. Well, I think that room itself is a big part in the next episode. I think Pomni's room will somehow play a very important role in the events of episode 2 of this series. The show's writers are most likely showing us this context now to prepare us for what the next episode will deliver. And I have a theory about exactly what this room means and what will happen in it later. I think Pomni's room will have some kind of hiding place for Pomni, and maybe the other circus members to hang out and plan their escape. It makes perfect sense to me because if you look at the Wacky Watch website, we see the infamous video of Pomni sleeping. But what does that mean? The characters in the amazing digital circus don't really need sleep. So why is Pomni sleeping? I think she's faking it. As you may know, Caine's all-seeing eyes look all over the circus. So I think maybe one of those eyes paid a quick visit to Pomni, and she quickly pretended to be asleep to avoid being caught trying to escape the circus. For my next theory, I want to talk about what I think will happen in episode 2. As we all know, this will probably take place in the Candy Canyon Kingdom. They're all made of candy, but it must be really stifling because it looks like a desert. But obviously it can't be that hot where the candy melts. Anyway, I think everyone is going to complain and be miserable throughout this, with Jack complaining the most. And I think Caine will take the circus members on some kind of tour of Candy Canyon Kingdom to meet a candy princess who carries an impressive resemblance to Princess Peach. Maybe to do a task for her, just for the fun of it. But I think it's more likely that the Queen will ask them to do some sort of task, as that seems to be what happens in the amazing digital circus. Somehow I think Jax will say something that will offend her, and of course, he will be sentenced to work at minimum wage. So the cast will have to find a way to get Jax out of his minimum wage job. Along the way, they encounter many enemies, such as the Fudge Monster and an ally who has sworn to forever oppose the royal family, a crocodile researcher boy who helps them in their adventure to save his friend. They finally reach Spuddy, but are ambushed by a bullet man, who they fight off and rescue Jack. They leave the Candy Kingdom of Canyon, but not before being chased by an army of queens who narrowly escape to return their lives to the digital circus. Caine then gives everyone a lecture about respect, but Jax ignores it, and the episode ends. The last thing I want to talk about in this video is very interesting. As you may know, a blue mannequin was featured in the trailer. Well, it's time to go on an adventure in a fast-paced sequence with all new characters. The last character featured is a flashy blue wooden mannequin in Candy Kingdom Canyon. Now, if you've watched some amazing digital circus theories, you'd know that it's widely assumed that these wooden dummies are placeholders for future circus members who find their way into the circus later on. We see proof of this when Pomni and Ragatha walk down the corridor to meet Kaufmo before finding him abstracted. If you look closely at the door as they walk past, you'll see a lot of never-before-seen characters with red crosses on their portraits, as well as a portrait of a regular wooden mannequin. And okay, at first people might think that the mannequin is part of the cast. If you look at the scene with Bubbles and Caine eating in the restaurant, the rest of the diners in the place are the same wooden mannequins we see. Well, we know about those wooden mannequins, but these blue ones don't really matter. My theory is that they are part of the Queen's army. So I think the Queen will most likely have her own variety of these mannequins. But rather than being canes that are placeholders for any new circus entrant, I think they will be used in the Queen's army. But let me know what you think about this theory in the comments, subscribe, and don't forget to like this video.